Paul Bristow is the Conservative candidate for the mayoral election in Cambridgeshire and Peterborough. Welcome to the conversation.
Paul Bristow, Conservative mayoral candidate for the elections on the 1st of May. This is an opportunity to go into a little more detail about some of the policy points, Paul, that you've been highlighting in your campaign so far. Now, we'll do a few of these conversations, so there's no rush to include everything in this one. So I thought what we'll start with, if that's okay with you, is we'll talk about what it means to you to be the mayor of Cambridgeshire and Peterborough, what that means to the people who live in Cambridgeshire and Peterborough, and how it affects them on a day-to-day basis and why it's so important. So yeah, hi Paul, thanks for taking a little bit of time off the campaign trail to have this slightly more in-depth conversation.
Hi Harriet, how you doing? So I think it's just really important to stress, and I'm sure you're going to. We're flying without a seatbelt here, aren't we? So there's no notes. I've got no notes in front of me. I don't know what you're going to ask.
No, that's
But
true.
look,
I
I've
don't
got.
know. I don't know what I'm going to ask either.
So anyway. It's good to talk to you. So let's fire away. Do you want to talk
Yeah.
to? You want me to say why I want to do this role, or?
Yeah, why what drew you first of all to the concept of being the mayoral candidate for Cambridgeshire and Peterborough? Let's start with that.
Well, I used to be the MP for Peterborough, as you know, and the one thing that I was acutely aware in that role was there was a sense of um, the, there is civic pride in Peterborough, but it wasn't loud and proud. There wasn't someone turning around and saying, "We're proud of our city, proud of where we live." And so my strapline was "Proud of Peterborough." And for a while, I used to live up in Teesside, and I used to always hear on the radio all the time, "Proud of where we live, proud of where we are." And that really kind of struck a chord with me. And that's why my strapline, when I was the MP, was always "Proud of Peterborough." But the same thing applies to Cambridgeshire. There is no connectivity or little connectivity sometimes between the north of the county and the south of the county. There's not that sense of identity as you'll get elsewhere. And the thing that really struck a chord with me is if you look at the mayor of Manchester, Andy Burnham, whether you think he's done a good job or whether you think he's done a bad job, he is the king of the north. He's always the person you look to when you want a comment about Manchester. Same applies to Ben Houchen of Tees Valley. Same applies to Andy Street when he was mayor of the West Midlands. And of course, we've got Sadiq Khan, mayor of London. These are significant figures. And what they are, they're ambassadors for their area. They fly the flag for their area, more so than many MPs, actually. And so that's what attracted me to the role, because I think we've been underserved. I don't think there is that common identity in Cambridgeshire, and I think not least because we've not had a politician who flies the flag for Cambridgeshire in quite the way we've seen for the West Midlands, for Manchester. And this mayorship, by the way, this office was set up at the same time as the Tees Valley, as Andy Burnham in Greater Manchester, as the West Midlands. And I can wander around places in South Cambridgeshire, in the Fens, in Huntingdonshire, in Peterborough, and people don't know who the mayor of Cambridgeshire and Peterborough is.
Mm.
People know who Andy Burnham is. People
Mm.
even know who Ben Houchen is, but nobody knows who our mayor is. And I think that's a real problem. If you're trying to draw people to your area, attract investment, attract jobs, fly the flag for your area. And that's why I want the job, because I think I'm a good salesman, Harriet. And I think I can be a great salesman for Cambridgeshire and Peterborough.
I don't, excuse me, I don't disagree with you. I wonder if it's something, when an area is, I don't know, stagnant, why would anyone be promoting it to be sort of open for business, as it were, like Ben Houchen does in Teesside? Do people realize, do they want Cambridgeshire and Peterborough to be open for business? Do they realize that if people position their companies here, that it brings more investment and more opportunity to the area? It's an interesting one. I'm not sure if I would never ever normally think about it in that context.
I
So
think our area succeeded. I think Cambridgeshire succeeded in spite of the office of mayor, not because of the office of mayor. Now, look, business is, I mean, as Kemi was saying in Parliament, and it's really, really profound, and I hope more people listen to what she has to say. She says that it's not government who create jobs. It's not the government who creates wealth. It's not the government that creates successful business. it's businesses themselves who do it. And what government is there to do is to create the environment for businesses to succeed. And so Cambridgeshire isn't stagnant. I mean, Cambridgeshire is doing really, really well. Cambridge, in particular, around Cambridge, is doing fantastically. Peterborough, it's got huge potential, especially in engineering, and we've got some of the best farmland in the country. Okay, in the Fens. So Cambridge is succeeding in spite of the mayor, but we could be doing even better. And it's not because politics has the mechanism, as I say, to actually ensure business thrive. What we can do is create the environment for which businesses can thrive. And what does that look like? That means, as you said, attracting people to the area, flying the flag for the area, and just telling the world, not just Britain, how bloody brilliant Cambridgeshire is. And that's what I want to do.
And I'll just pull you up on something. I'm not sure it's all governments that create the conditions for business and individuals to thrive. I think it's conservative governments that create the conditions for, because conservatism is about that individual responsibility and that individuality, and you need that in order to have successful business. So if you've got government going, you're going to do it like this, you don't leave space for creativity and individuality, which is exactly what you need in any innovation space. So particularly in Cambridgeshire, when science is the driving force in the south, at least, and then you've got the innovation going into the farming sector in the north of the county. It's the one thing I think that ties everything together, is that innovation and individuality that the Conservative governments will actually create the conditions for.
Ronald Reagan once said the 10 scariest words in the English language are, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help."
That doesn't sound like 10 words, does it? You can sure not don't count more quickly enough. Okay, so that's clear why you want to be
11.
Yeah. Why you want. So let's talk about the office of mayor. It's called the Combined Authority, the Cambridgeshire and Peterborough Combined Authority, isn't it? Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And the person in charge of it is the mayor, and you have a team, and so on and so forth. So let's talk a little bit about the type of policy that actually comes out of the office of mayor at the Combined Authority.
Okay, well, it's a complicated thing, but it was set up at the same time, as I said earlier, as the West Midlands, as Manchester and Tees Valley. And when I spoke to Ben Houchin, the lesson that he taught me was it's very much yours to define your role in the way that you would like. You know, you don't have to limit yourself to your areas of competence. You don't have to just say, well, you know, I'm not responsible for farming, so I'm not going to protest against the family farm tax and stand up for farmers in our areas. Our Labour mayor has decided to do. For me, you know, and for Ben and for Andy Burnham and for Sadiq Khan, you know, they get involved in all sorts of issues that affect their areas, but are not necessarily within their competence. And that's the sort of mayor I wish to be. But your question is, what is the mayor? So the Combined Authority is basically there is a board that's made up of the 5 district councils we've got in Cambridgeshire, the county council, and Peterborough. And on the board, above that is a mayor. And the idea is that the mayor has executive responsibility for sort of infrastructure, for transport projects, for other things the government wish to see adopted across Cambridgeshire, for skills. And then the board there holds that mayor to account, but secondly is also there to help him run the Combined Authority. So they each have sort of portfolios, and it really encourages the parties to all work together. So we have a Labour mayor, but we have 2 Conservatives on there. We've got a bunch of Labour in Cambridge. We've got Liberal Democrats in Huntington and on South Cambs and on the county council. And obviously we've got a Labour council in Peterborough. And so they all kind of work together, if you like. That's a theory. Now, it doesn't always work out like that, unfortunately. And it's the problem with the mayor, you have to, as I said at the start, you have to kind of make it your own. You really have to kind of strike out and decide what your priorities are. And that's what figures like Andy Burnham, we keep referring to, have done. Our mayor decided to make it largely about buses, about transport, connectivity. Now, look, buses are important. Buses are really important. I mean, it's a way we are connected from village to town, from village to city. They're really important. But it's more than just buses, Harriet. It's more than just buses.
We want trains. I want trains. I
Well,
won't. I'm not going to predict on you.
we want all sorts. We want all sorts. When was the last time you heard him talk about skills?
Yeah, exactly. Actually, that's something that we should talk about, but we'll save that for another episode. The adult education and opportunities therein, because that is a major part of the combined authority responsibility. But yeah, so this sort of overarching strategy, overarching vision for Cambridgeshire does include, well, I think I sometimes refer to it as roads, railways, and reservoirs.
The three R's.
Yeah, we are roads. There's obviously more than that, and we can't shoehorn everything to begin with an R, unfortunately. But yeah, the roads and the railways are pretty significant. Um, and I don't know how you're going to manage to get it all done, to be honest. Good
Well,
luck. But,
yesterday I met the chief executive of the Chamber of Commerce, and look, I'm not going to portray her politics or instinct. She was an absolute professional,
mm,
and but I could tell, that what she was longing for is someone in that real ambassadorial role for her area, in the same way Andy Street was in the West Midlands. We don't have that here,
mm,
fortunately. But what I did talk to her about was connectivity. Okay, so I think we're a poorly connected county. I live just outside Peterborough. I'm in my village now. I'm in my home just outside Peterborough. It's quicker for me. So it's Wansford. Okay, so it's just literally on the far sort of north western corner of Cambridgeshire, and just up the road is Lincolnshire. Just across the border over there is Northamptonshire, and so it's about a few miles just outside Peterborough, pointing towards Rutland. Beautiful village, beautiful part of the world. But if I got a train from here, from Peterborough, it's quicker for me to go to London than it is to Cambridge. And that's obviously we're on the East Coast Main Line, but we are a poorly connected county north to south. And we've got to do better. So what does that look like? So I want a faster trains between Peterborough and Cambridgeshire that connects around Ely. And guess what? I want those to run till 10, 11 o'clock at night. So people who can live in Peterborough and the Fens, okay, where houses are cheaper, but they can work in Cambridge and vice versa. And guess what, Harriet? They can go out for a meal and have a pint.
oh,
Okay.
sounds good.
And then go home late at night. They don't need to have that one. So that's the way we're going to create that sort of civic pride if we feel that we're part of one county. So it's poor transport connectivity. Same with roads. That's why I unashamedly started talking about dualling our roads. People will say, "Oh, what we need is modular shift. We need people off our roads." Nonsense. I want people to be able to, use our roads and drive from north to south and east to west in the same way that they enjoy in other parts of our country. Connectivity to see your friends, see your family, see your elderly relatives. People want to drive. That's why I hate the concept of these 15-minute cities where we try to limit people about where they are and where they move. I want people to move around and see one another because we're social beings, and it's what makes us happy. That's what makes us kind of people. So it's that transport connectivity, but there's also social connectivity as well, and that's why I'm really passionate about heritage. Right? There's a great guy called Dan Lentil. I don't know if you know him. He's a councillor in South Cambridge. Of course, you'll know him, Harriet. And he's councillor up in Over. He's elected as a Liberal Democrat, but he left the Liberal Democrats over their barking mad congestion charge policies in Cambridge. But he's also a huge history buff, and he can talk to you at length if you ever feel the need to about heritage and that fact that Wisbech has got more history and architecture and statues and civic than Stamford, and that Northstowe, the newest town in Cambridge or village or whatever you want to call it in Cambridge. In fact, there you've got Roman ruins beneath, beneath Northstowe, and it needs that sort of civic identity. And if you ever get walking around in Cambridge, make sure there's plenty of pubs on the way. Otherwise, they'll have you walking around Cambridge and seeing fantastic history that city's got to offer. But heritage is really important, so we all feel part of one county. And heritage is always going to be the bottom of the list for Cambridge County Council. when you're spending up to 70% or so of your budget on adult and social care and children's services, heritage is always going to be at the bottom of the list, but it's a county council responsibility. Why do you give it to someone who cares? You know, someone who can actually do something about it, like the combined authority, like Dan Lentil. I think he'll do a great job as a civic ambassador for our county. So that's another thing I'm really passionate about connectivity. So social connectivity, transport connectivity, digital connectivity. Connectivity will power our county forward.
It certainly will. And just tracking back a little bit, you went to say something about people. You want people moving and keeping people off the roads or on the roads. And I think this is a really important point. And it comes up when people talk about congestion charge. There does seem to be a drive from certain parties, big P, to in fact get people off the road, to discourage that mode of transport. And I think this is another really important point of conservatism, because one of the cornerstones of conservatism is freedom of choice. So,
Yeah.
you know, theoretically, down the line, you could feasibly say, okay, yeah, a congestion charge could be an option, but certainly not until there is a full and complete range of viable, accessible, reliable alternative transport options. So people actually do have a genuine choice. They're not just restricted in one particular area. And I think it's important to say that's why Conservatives are against the congestion charge right now, because there isn't the freedom to make a valid choice.
No. Well, let's just make it clear. Let's just get it absolutely clear at the start. If I'm elected mayor, there will never be a congestion charge in Cambridge or in Peterborough or anywhere else in the county. I don't believe in road charging, and it just simply won't happen. Okay, so ruling that out 100%. Look, good. But there is a philosophy here. I think, you know, our roads in the south in particular are congested. Cambridge in particular is very congested. Now, what's the solution to that problem? And we're about to, by the way, build 100,000 homes, 150,000 homes, depending on who you believe, in Cambridgeshire as well. So this problem's going to get worse. So what's the solution to that problem? To the left, to the Labour Party, to our mayor, to the Liberal Democrats, their solution is to get people off the roads, okay? And their solution is to try and create modular shift, right? And that means charging people to use our roads. That means congestion charging, and that means putting all your eggs in one public transport solution, which is buses. Okay, that's their plan. The mayor's franchising model rests and hinges.
The current mayor
hinges on the fact that on the precondition that there will be a 15% drop in the number of car usage in Cambridgeshire by 2030, and that the number of people using our county's buses will double. I can tell you right here, Harriet, that is not going to happen. That is his financial model. And if that doesn't work, what does that mean? That means a transport levy, that means infrastructure levy on business, and that means a rise in the mayoral precept in tax. That means people will be paying more and more money for a financial model that won't happen. You are not going, especially with 150,000 new homes, you're not going to get a 15% drop in the number of people using our roads. It's going to be the other way round. So what's the solution to that problem? Well, we need to dual our roads. Okay, let's increase capacity. The A10, the A141, the great news about the A428, which is going to be dualed as well. And we need to dual our roads. That's the first thing we need to do. Okay, our major A roads. Second thing we need to do is to create a transport infrastructure that actually makes sense. At the moment, we've got the GCP, we've got the county council, we've got the combined authority, we've got district councils, and quite often some of their solutions to transport contradict one another. They've got bridleways which are contradictory. We've got different policies that don't match one another. We need one united view on a public transport solution for Cambridge, and there's only one solution, and that's light rail. And for me, that we should have started this 10 years ago. Okay, but we are where we are. There are solutions. I think Homes England and sorry, not Homes England. I think the new development corporation that they're putting in place in Cambridgeshire are smiling on the principle of light rail. I think the government are smiling on the principle of light rail. My job, if I become mayor, number one priority is to create a consensus among the politicians in Cambridgeshire for light rail. And that means the Liberal Democrat leader of South Cambridgeshire District Council. That means the Labour leader of Cambridge City Council. This is as much their project as it will be mine. So let's get that consensus and let's lobby together, government together. So it's their project as well as mine, the money and the investment we need to build light rail in Cambridge.
Well, I can certainly get behind that. Paul, thank you. I think we're going to leave it there for this one. And I'll speak to you again, and we'll hopefully do a few more of these and go into a little bit more detail about some of the other points.
Right, Harriet. Lovely to talk to you.
See you next time.
You can visit www.paulbristow.org.uk to get in touch, to stay in touch, and to help Paul to get Cambridgeshire moving.